Hey, welcome back to Wicked Smart Golf, aka Wicked Smart. This is your host, Michael Leonard, and this podcast is committed to helping you play better golf without changing your swing. Today, I'm really excited to bring on professional golfer Brent Grant. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. It's gonna be a fun time.
Absolutely, man. Well, congrats on, getting to this pro level and doing a lot already in the golf world. I know the future looks bright and we'll get into where you're headed, but let's kind of rewind to how you got here because you didn't, from what I found, didn't get started at, 2 or 3 years old like a lot of players.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, everybody I grew up around had already been playing for a decade by the time I picked up a club. So it's definitely been an interesting route, and seeing these kids now, kind of almost a decade now in professional golf, and seeing how some of these kids are kind of winding their way through it. It's so cool to kind of just look back and see how everything's worked out, and yeah, it's been a blessing.
What age did you finally pick up the club and decide this was going to be it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I played sports growing up, baseball, basketball, football, whatever. I stopped playing baseball when I was about 11 or 12. So that's when my dad basically just dropped me off at the golf course in the middle of summer and picked me up at 7 o'clock in the evening and just rinse and repeat for months at a time. So
Love it, love it. When you got started, were you one of those kids that were just like instantly picked it up? Because I was a terrible golfer when I got started. It was a very long kind of had to really earn it. Were you one of those naturally talented players, or did you have to do a little bit of both too?
that's a good question. I think for me it was probably a year and I was scratch.
Oh, come
So
on.
I guess I guess yeah, a year or two I was scratch, and then I shot 62 at my home course when I was a sophomore, so 2 or 3 years later. And then
That
made it
is,
made it into the USM when I was 16.
oh my God. So you went from picking up a club to being a scratch golfer in about a year, and then you shot, would you say 63 in your second? I mean,
62,
as a
yeah.
sophomore in high school?
Hmm.
Wow, I shot 124 my first tournament freshman year, so you might have beat me just a little bit. So
That's
dang,
okay.
that is inspiring, man. That's really cool. Did you just kind of fall in love with it? Like what made it different than baseball and like kind of make you want to keep with it?
Yeah, I mean, I just like most kids, especially back then, there was no pitch count, right? So, there was a lot of sore elbows, sore
Mm.
shoulders, and I mean, even to this day, I can't throw anything without feeling a shock through my arm. So, I don't know what happened, but something's not right. So, yeah, I just couldn't play anymore. So, I mean, I'd give my left arm to play shortstop or third base in the big leagues right now, but golf seems to be where the Lord wants me to be. So that's where we're
Love
at.
it. That's incredible, man. Making it in the USAM, you said at 16 years old. What was kind of some of those early junior golf memories like?
I didn't really have any. I did. So I played, I think I played one junior world qualifier and one other junior event, aside from like two or three, like, local when I first started. So yeah, I mean, I remember playing with all the kids that I was going to middle school with, and they were just so much better than me. And then by the time we got to high school, they were still better than me, but I'd caught up a fair bit. So yeah, I really didn't have a resume outside of a little bit of high school golf and the local Hawaii amateur stuff.
Gotcha. And then did you get to the point where you're like, hey, I'm gonna go to college, I want to go straight to the pros? Like what was kind of, did you have like a moment where you felt like, wow, this is gonna be my future?
Yeah, not until later. So coming out of high school, I had terrible grades freshman year, so that kind of stuck with me. And then like I said, didn't really have the resume, so it's not like colleges were knocking on my door. And so, but I did have one school, Oregon State, for whatever reason, said that they would allow me to walk on, which is cool, but I had to get my grades up. So
Hmm.
while I worked pretty much all my senior year and into my first year of college at a community college, and then played whatever tournaments um, and then ended up walking on at Oregon State. But then when I came home, like 4 months later, because it was miserable, and definitely
Are you
most of
talking
that
about the
was.
weather? Because I grew up in Oregon, so I'm just
Yeah, the weather's horrible. It's
I got out of
especially.
there as soon as I could. I
Yeah,
fully get it.
100%. Yeah, I mean, growing up in Hawaii, I mean, I was kind of darker than even I am now, and so, like I came back, pale and just depressed and whatever. But yeah, I didn't really have a great time playing for Oregon State. I had a great time at school.
Mm,
Funny enough, I actually enjoyed the classroom setting and learning. And I did pretty well. But so I come home and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. So I thought about quitting game because I hated it. Like that kind of thing, right? Like you don't square your emotions up at 19, 20 years old. Like nobody knows what they're doing, right? And so literally I came home, thought I was going to quit. I got offered a full ride scholarship to BYU Hawaii, which was on the North Shore. So I went back to work and kind of went from there. So class, Turtle Bay, my girlfriend's house to work, and that was kind of the route, which was like a total of like 2 hours of driving. Um, and then so I found my love again of the game. I won three times, two or three times in like twelve tournaments. Um, and then didn't really look back after that. I won everything I played in Hawaii. I qualified again for the USAM this was 2016. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. And I'm still working at the time. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is something. I knew I didn't want to go back to school.
hmm
I'd ruined that. Um, so it was like, okay, maybe this golf thing. So keep working, keep working. And um, and so eventually I end up winning a tournament that gets me into a qualifier that gets me into the Sony if I win that qualifier. So, and they still do it. It's called the Governor's Cup. It's a great opportunity for amateurs to kind of get thrusted right into the deep end and kind of see exactly how things work. I mean, you're given a spot in
hmm
one of the most popular PGA Tour events on the calendar. So long story short, I play a practice round with Anirban Lahiri and Ken Duke. And I mean, talk about two journeymen, right? Two, I mean, just completely opposite end of the spectrum guys.
hmm
Obviously Anirban is like super like robotic and very dedicated, disciplined, deliberate guy. And then there's Ken, who's this just larger than life, good old boy journeyman who is, 40 plus years old, wins a PGA Tour event, wears his heart on his sleeve. And I always admired both. I still to this day admire both of them a lot. But Ken pulls me aside during the practice round and he says, "So what do you want to do?" And I go, "Well, maybe this golf thing. I don't know, right? Because like nobody comes from Hawaii and turns pro. Like I knew about
hmm
Parker McLaughlin and I knew about Dean Wilson, but both those guys played college at a high D1 level on the mainland. They
hmm
weren't coming from the islands really. So even though they grew up there, um, I literally was like, I don't know. And he goes, well, if you keep hitting your shots the way you hit that driver, you will be on the PGA Tour in no time. This was in 2017. I was turned 21 two months later. And so I was like, hmm. And I think I missed the cut by like one or two. And I was like, I can, I can do this. And funny enough, I actually played with Parker that week. So I got to see what it looks like, right,
hmm
to be coming from Hawaii. And Parker and I didn't, we have a much better relationship now just because back then I just really didn't know who he was. And nor did he know who I was. But him and Ryan Bremen, that was the slowest two rounds of my life. That was ridiculous. Slugger put us on the clock. But
Oh
anyways, all
no.
that's to say, that was actually when I figured it out. I was like, maybe I
hmm
could do this. And I made it to final stage on my second try, and then I made it through final stage on my third try. Um, and yeah, and now we're all the way back to to ground zero. So it's been a really interesting ride.
Yeah, I mean, Q school is, I mean, there's just nothing like it in any other sport. It's
Oh, I
just
totally agree.
absolutely brutal. I went to pre-qualifying in 2019 and I experienced a sliver of what you have experienced and I was just like this is just crazy. I mean, how competitive it is, I mean, every shot counts. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. So for those players that are, never going to go to Q school, obviously I'm sure you learned a lot from that. What maybe two or three lessons that you got from the first few times at Q school that have kind of shaped you in terms of course management, mental game, anything like playing under pressure?
Yeah, I mean that's Ooh, that cuts right to it. I think it's the hardest golf you're ever going to play. I was talking to a guy at TPC 2 days ago, and I was just like, I was trying to like impart like the quickest, most to the point. And so literally that's all I said. I was like, it's the hardest golf you'll ever play. So it's like, regardless of how easy or difficult the golf course is, the idea is that you have 3 rounds in pre-qual, obviously, and 4 rounds in first stage and on, but there's no cut. So if you start off bad, right, that doesn't necessarily mean you're out of it,
Hmm.
right? So it immediately instills that thought process, exactly what you said, that every shot counts. And when you blow that up to a professional career, I mean, I think I looked at the numbers in 2024. I looked at the numbers of 23 after I lost my card on the PGA Tour. I think I was literally like 3 shots away
Mm.
from keeping my card. Like I know I was like basically a made cut at Wells Fargo and 1 or 2 shots at Pebble or Torrey that week and or that year, and I'd have stayed on the PGA Tour. It's like that is crazy, right?
Hmm.
And by the way, I was dead last in putting, so maybe that could have improved a little bit. But honestly, my strides with course management and stuff like that really didn't come until much later. So I mean, I got my first like real coach in 2019, which is when I eventually made it to the Korn Ferry Tour for the
Hmm.
2020 season. And up until then, I had really just kind of gone from the hip. I just kind of just did things my own way, and I would
Yeah.
win or I wouldn't, and then that was kind of how it was. And but now it's like, I'll caddy for somebody. I caddied for my buddy last year in first stage. I caddied for a young man at Torrey last week, and I was kind of like, this is easy. Like, like I'm not, nothing's like a crazy, like out of the box decision here that I can't see or can't understand.
Hmm.
Um, and so like the thought process has definitely taken quite some time, but I'm hard-headed, so
Yeah.
not everybody's going to be the way I am.
What about the pressure? I mean, are you like, I know you probably have great routines. It's just you're not even playing for money in those events. You're just playing for a future. So like how do you, slow down, reframe? If you have a bad hole, how do you reset? What are some mental stuff that you were able to do? Or you just like head down, like just didn't even have time to get upset or frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, I've always worn my emotions on my sleeve. There are any number of players that I've come across that I've had that kind of conversation with and trying to understand how they do that. I asked Tyrrell Hatton once a couple of years ago. I said, like, where's this coming from? Like,
Mm.
you're insane. Like, I literally looked at him. I was like, buddy, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And he's like, huge smile on his face because that's who he
Hmm.
is. And he's like, honestly, like, I just decided one year that I was just done trying to be perfect out there. And I was
Mm.
like, this is coming from like one of the most like psychopathic golfers you would think, right? Like from the outside. He's like the coolest guy and like super nice. And but yeah, for me it was like as I've gotten older, obviously, my brain actually was fully developed. It has kind of become easier to process these emotions and then look at kind of um, the overarching theme. But it's crazy. So like I'll put it this way. During the PGA Tour season, I think I was trying to prove so much
Mm.
to other people and trying to accomplish this grand goal of winning or staying on the PGA Tour or whatever, and didn't have the balance off the course to help that. So my emotions weren't balanced, right? And so that's like the number one thing, honestly, that I look at, and I'm sitting there going like, well, no wonder you played horrible pretty much for like 90% of the time,
Mm.
because 100% of the time your life was like this and you're trying to get golf to be like this. Like it doesn't work that way.
Mm. So
So
you're saying off the course was a little
yeah,
hectic?
off the course was just, I was spending my money how I wanted to spend it, spending my time with whomever I wanted to spend it
Hmm.
with. And, it's one of those things that, obviously, looking back now, it's kind of the way the world wants you to be. And so like, especially now that, and I'm sure with your talk with Charlie, we guys talked about his faith and what that looks like. And so now it's kind of like nothing in my life is stable, now, like, but also at the same time, nothing in my life is inside of my control. Like the only thing that's inside of my control is where I put my faith.
Hmm.
If I put my faith in me and my decisions and everything I want to go do, I already know how that turns out. Right? I'm going to
Hmm.
be right back here a year from now and could be doing the same thing with my hat out going, please, sir. Like it does work, right?
Hmm.
So, I place my faith and I surrender to Christ and literally, I've got more debt than I've ever thought I'd ever have. Um, I'm living with my parents, which I thought I'd never do again. Well, like we talked about before we jumped on, driving an hour to and from the course every day just to hit
Hmm.
balls. All these different things are stacking up, and you're like, how do you even get out of bed in the morning?
Hmm.
I'm like, well, that's the answer, right? So on the course now, I'm just looking at it and go, it's just golf.
Hmm.
It's just golf. And so you look back at what Scotty said a couple of weeks ago, and you go, what was he really trying to say? Was he really looking at golf and going, you shouldn't play, it's a dumb game? No. Now, do I think Scotty Scheffler is how he is on the golf course good for golf? No. But like that's just because he's boring. Um, but when you look at like how you have to have like a balance off the course in order to have a balance on the course, I think
Hmm.
it's just something that most people just don't. And I'm not going to sit here and say you must believe this. Like that's not what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
But you obviously can't have an unbalance. I mean, the gentleman that's in the picture behind you would tell you the exact same thing. Now, obviously, he saw great success, but also at the same time, he saw great failure. And so, and so you get this buildup of how you should be, but it's just like, well, if golf doesn't matter, do I really have to put my emotions into each shot?
Hmm.
No, you don't. And so, how do I play my best golf? Well, having gratitude, focusing on the process, things you can control, which are really only a couple of things in general, right?
Hmm.
And then moving forward after you hit the golf shot,
Hmm.
just like in life. But anyways, it's honestly been a complete maturation thing, and I've had to go through the absolute ringer to get to even remote understanding of what I just said. So,
Yeah, no, it's such a process, man, and so much off the course that you just I've had some off course stuff lately, and I just been a mess on the course. It's just
yeah,
it's
it's
so
self-evident.
it is, yeah. Just we lost our pet, and I just wearing my
Oh, I'm
emotions too
sorry.
much. I just everything. I'm like, why am I even out here? I don't even care. Like I don't even want to
Mm,
practice.
yeah.
It's just like I've never had anything. I've never dealt with like that kind of grief while still trying to play like high level amateur golf, and I'm just like, man, it's exhausting. So like when you see guys on the PGA Tour, or Korn Ferry, mini tours, whatever, and maybe they're struggling, it's like you don't know what's happening off the course. You don't know those mental battles, and it's obviously just the mental health part of it is really
Oh,
it's
it's huge.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm glad you brought that up, and obviously appreciate you sharing. It's such a hard game, but obviously
Mhm.
the love is there, and you found a way forward, and you're motivated. You seem like you have gotten to a place now where you just want more opportunities, and kind of take us through that, right? So because like that's I think the whole world of professional golf is very misunderstood. I mean, even the guys on I used to do the mini tour stuff here and outlaw and all that as an amateur, and I'd be playing with, Charlie in the field and you shoot 22 under. I'm like, why isn't he winning all the time on the PGA Tour? Like it's
Mhm.
so competitive. It's so good. So you win or you get to what you said 2020 was your first PGA or Corn Ferry season.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
just take me
So.
take me to that last round of Q school, just so you like were you thinking about like the score of those last few holes? Did you know you were close? Like how are you managing with that pressure? Like I'm gonna get through Q school if I don't screw this up, and then I'm on the Corn Ferry Tour. What was kind of that last few holes like?
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, that's a perfect question. I think it isn't talked about ever. I totally agree. And so yeah, honestly, so my third round was kind of poor. So I started poor, played great in the second round, had a bad third round, and then I shot like, I don't know, 6, 7 under or something like that through like 10 holes on the
Wow,
final round. Like I hit shots that where you're just sitting there going like, oh, that's wrong. Like that's just like I was
filthy.
like under a tree, over a hill, around a corner, 4 iron, 6 feet. Like stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
me and my coach Tony Greco, he was caddying for me, and then we went out there, especially because the night before we were like, okay, we're not to be denied. Like we're
Hmm.
getting through this. So played with Alistair Doherty, funny enough, and Alistair at the time was writing his shots down per shot on his on his pin sheet.
Hmm.
So he's writing how he hit each shot on his pin sheet, like the emotions, like literally
Mm.
like this. And I looked at it and I go, "What are you doing?" I go, he's just right. I'm like, kid, what? And I had played college golf with this guy, so it's like I've
Uh-huh.
known him forever. And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, well, everybody does this. Like, no, they don't. I'm like, nobody writes down how they hit their shot, like with a verb or an adjective or whatever, and then like an asterisk, right? Like, and so so I'm watching him as I'm playing well. I'm watching him just kind of like implode, and I'm kind of like, huh, well, this it was like a mirror, right? It was like,
Mm.
oh, well, all right, we're not to be doing that. So literally the last six, 7 holes, I think I parred in and just like cruised in and shot,
Hmm.
I don't know, whatever the number was, I was above it by, I think the cut was 11 under, and I
Okay.
think I shot 14 or 15. So it's like, it was like to the point where I was just kind of like, what's the score? Oh, it'll stay there. Okay.
Wow. You think that was from the year before, kind of already being there? That it wasn't your first time. You kind of understood a
Honestly,
little bit.
the year before was out here at Wild Horse,
Hmm.
and so it was the number was like 20 something under
It
par. I mean,
it
the winner
was
shot
so
38. I
it
think it was
was so
ridiculous.
low. Yeah.
It was dumb, and like you just sit there and we're playing Orange County National, and like not easy golf courses whatsoever, and it was in good shape.
Hmm.
But we had because it was like the up and down of the emotions. Like I knew that third round was poor, but we had some momentum saving moments, like a crazy, like I hit this one shot into a back bunker on nine, and it was like this far from the edge, but the bunker was like this, so I couldn't get to the ball. And we
Mm.
called over two rules officials, and the second one was like, "Well, you can always replay the shot." So I was like, "Oh." Okay. So I went back, dropped, hit it to 5 feet, made bogey. So I was like,
Mm.
oh, saved
That's
my
wild.
entire career right there. And to this day, Rico knows. He and I are good buddies. But it's like one of those things where it's like a momentum saving thing. And
Hmm.
so when I had the momentum with me, I had built it up to the certain point where I could just cruise. And
Hmm.
that's the thing about Q school is that yes, did I want to continue? Did I continue to give myself birdie opportunities? Yes. Did I just completely hit it to the middle of the green and say, I'm just two putting getting out of here? No. But I did absolutely look those last few holes. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to be in the top 12. Like I'll take my 28th or whatever it was. I think it was actually 28th and leave. Like be totally content, right? So it was definitely an interesting experience. And so um but at the time the only thing I had going on was golf. So
Hmm.
my life was golf and golf only. So
Hmm.
um yeah, it was a little easier to be balanced. That's for sure.
So, I mean, you have the great round, you finish, you make it on, and you said 2020 was your first year on the Korn Ferry.
Yeah, COVID, yeah.
I was gonna say, obviously, a terrible year for there are no fans and stuff. Like, take us through
hmm
that process too. Like, so you make it to Korn Ferry, you had full status, right? Like, how many events does that include, or is that all the
Yeah,
events?
yeah, pretty much. So I had 8 starts
Okay.
and I played the first event at Abaco. And no, yeah, Abaco. And I think I
Is that
don't
the one where
remember.
it's in like Bermuda or Bahamas, one of those where it's
Yeah,
super windy?
Bahamas. So yeah,
Yeah.
Bahamas. And this was like when it was like blowing 40, like
Oh
40 to
God.
60 miles an hour every day. So Tommy Gainey ended up winning that week, but I literally had more birdies and eagles than anybody that week.
Wow.
And I remember playing with Garrigus in the third round. I played well in the third round. And I mean, this is Robert Garrigus, right? Like for me, like all the guys from like 2015 to like 95, like those are the guys where it's like, oh, these are like these are the real deal,
Hmm.
like old school grinding guys, right? Not that Robert Garrigus is old school, although he's getting there. Um, and literally, it was just like he's like, "You got it." Like he just told me, just flat out. And so I took his, I believed him, and so that start alone gave me enough points to be good for the rest of the season. But literally, I think it was the fourth or fifth week. We play Lecom, which is in Sarasota. I go to my buddy's wedding, and literally, we jump off my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. Um, we jump off the plane in Ontario and or Ontario, California, rather, and the world ends. Like the world goes, eh, has a little stroke and just kind of cuts out for a little while, and then so we're all left scrambling. I mean, I think I was on the phone, Zoom or whatever the heck else, FaceTime with no less than a dozen people for the next 6 weeks.
Dang.
And it was like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, this is horrible. Like, and then living in California, this was like
Even worse. Yeah.
horrible, right? Now, granted, I mean, nobody really knew what was going on, and any and all of those decisions are what they are. I mean, a few of them are pretty dumb, but we can all agree. We all agree on that now. But I mean, whether we did or we didn't doesn't really make a difference. But um, so yeah, and then I finish that tournament and go into COVID 30th. I'm like, cool, awesome, right? And then literally 4 months go by, 5 months go by, I think, something like that.
Gosh.
And we restart in the beginning of June.
Uh-huh.
But all I did during that time was lift and eat. So like I come back out of COVID just like stocky and just like, incapable of moving. And and I just did not play well for the rest of the season. I played well enough, obviously, um, but it was not good enough to where I literally got injured in 2021 and had to take 5 weeks off. And
Mm.
actually, if it weren't for like a top 10 in Utah or whatever it was, um, I wouldn't have kept my card in
Wow.
21. So like I played 54 events in 2 years.
Wow.
With
These are all Korn Ferry events.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And then I think I Monday qualified in 21
Oof.
for Sony and Farmers, I think.
Yeah, tell us about that because I actually just saw Ryan and Charlie post that thing. I think somebody shot 64
Eh,
yesterday in the Monday
I
and
fi
they they
figured that would
didn't.
get around. Yeah, I mean it's golf. I mean I don't know what everybody's so surprised about.
So do you just go out there on those Mondays and I mean, do you have a like just aggressive mentality or do you let the course come to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I've played well, obviously they've been at courses that I've known. So when I Monday qualified for the Sony, it was at Huacale, which I was a member at. And I knew exactly what I had to do. Me and Gooch went out there and we medalist together. I think I shot 6 or 7 and he shot 6 or 7
Nice.
obviously. And so that was fun. And then for the farmers, it was at Bear Creek.
Mm.
So, for me, it was just kind of like, all right, let's go play.
Hmm.
So Mondays are a crapshoot. And that's just, I mean, anybody that thinks that it's a good representation of how you are as a golfer is clearly misinformed.
Mm.
But the thing now is, and we can get into it, I'm sure, but with what they've done leading into next year, I mean, the Monday qualifiers for the PGA Tour are a thing of the past,
I know.
and it's I don't necessarily think it's the worst thing in the world because I do believe that only PGA Tour card holding players should be playing in PGA Tour events because those are the only guys that deserve to be there. And if it's about a true meritocracy, fine. That's totally fine. But those guys that have those cards, especially the guys, that are rookies and the guys
Hmm.
that earned their way there the year before, not guys that have stuck around, for 15 years playing in the past champions category. I mean, any of those guys know, and they've known for years that their days are numbered. And so what's happening now is that so the past champions category moves down into the Korn Ferry,
Mm,
basically. And anybody outside of the 100 moves down into the Korn Ferry because any of the guys coming up from the Korn Ferry and the DP World Tour and the Q School and the PGA Tour University, I mean, we're looking at 40 guys, 30 to 40 guys, somewhere in there,
hmm.
um, to fill 125 man fields for the most part. So everybody else, including, by the way, probably half of the Korn Ferry Tour guys and certainly some of the Q School guys, are not going to get many starts on the PGA Tour unless something changes.
Hmm.
So, guys are still going to go out and play as many tournaments as they can. Now, what does that look like for the Korn Ferry Tour? I think it's pretty obvious. I think you're just going to see less and less opportunities.
Hmm.
But as far as Monday qualifiers are concerned, Korn Ferry is by far the harder of the two because you just have to shoot lower.
Hmm.
I mean, the bottom line is you got guys that are absolutely hungry, they're young, they're talented players. And in the
Hmm.
PGA Tour Mondays, most of the time, you've got guys that are either pre-qualified, which is you're rarely going to see that a person get through there, and you
Hmm.
have a bunch of guys that have status.
Hmm.
So to me, it's like these are all well-deserved players that at one point or another could probably be on the PGA Tour or were.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's really interesting. I've played in a few, and every single time I'm just like, this is dumb. Like this is really stupid. So the hope is that next year they do something about it to where like, hey, we're gonna take the Corn Ferry Tour Mondays and we're only gonna leave, 20 spots
Hmm.
per site or whatever for, and significantly shrink the PGA Tour Mondays to, or excuse me, the Corn Ferry Tour Mondays to guys that have Corn Ferry Tour cards. Because I just, if you didn't make it through Q School, like, and it's sure if you sign up in time and pay your $500, fine, I don't care.
Hmm.
But if you don't and you didn't make it through Q School, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And so the fact is that as the opportunities at the top get smaller, you can't just all of a sudden expand,
Hmm.
down below and expect, $1.5 million purse, which is 10% of the PGA Tour purse, to be able to hold, you know, what I mean, what are we going to be looking at? 30 former PGA Tour players,
Hmm.
like at least per
Yeah,
year, per
it's
week?
the pro golf landscape the last few years has been it's hard to keep up with. I can't imagine
Buddy, I can't even.
being in it.
I honestly, it's like I spent so long talking to these guys, board members in 23, and I just my head spun
Hmm.
every single time. And I
Yeah.
talked to Charlie Hoffman once, and I was like, "What?"
What?
And then so it just like again out of balance, right?
What's the biggest difference between playing in a Corn Ferry event versus PGA Tour other than the fans?
Golf course. Golf courses are horrible in comparison.
Really?
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, I think
Wow.
we probably play 3 to 5 golf courses on the Korn Ferry Tour that could theoretically host a PGA Tour event,
Hmm.
but they would have to lengthen them or lengthen the rough or firm up the greens.
Gotcha.
But other than the golf course, it's the simple fact that they don't want us there.
Mm.
Like the feeling that I've gotten over 5 years of doing this now, is that most of the time we go there, it's like even though we pay to be there, we're guests, like actual
You're
like
saying from the golf course itself?
yeah, golf course and sometimes I mean certainly the golf course management.
Hmm.
I mean I remember um, Wichita one year. Um, we literally were given on Thursdays, we were given like no food Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we were given one meal, and it was like a breakfast burrito or something like that. And Caddy's got nothing. Like it's just like stuff where you sit there and you go, really? Like what is this,
Hmm.
$1,000 for the whole week? Like,
Hmm.
and so like when you dive into the budgets of all this stuff, you can see that like their runs so like it's a shoestring because the Corn Ferry Tour doesn't make any money, and we can go around and round and round about the fact that the PGA Tour refuses to put it on TV
Hmm.
because they just don't want it to be any bigger than what it is. Um, but yeah, they don't care. Anybody that thinks that the Korn Ferry Tour, the PGA Tour, or that any of the administration care about actually growing the Korn Ferry Tour, they don't. They don't care.
Wow, I had no idea there was that much animosity. Why is it? I'm genuinely curious. I have no idea.
So the Korn Ferry Tour is essentially, how do I put this? It's a tax break for the
Mm,
PGA Tour. So the PGA Tour exists the way it does because they're a 501(c)(6). So this essentially means that they don't have to pay taxes.
hmm
Now, I'm not an expert, I'm not an accountant, but through my experience in dealing with these people and actually talking this through, it turns out that anytime money comes in, it has to go out somehow. And if it goes out somehow, then it has to come in. And they have to put a name or a number on the balance sheet so it looks good. The government does not go deeper than the surface. Like they don't have to go into the books. It's part of why the live lawsuit got squashed because
mm,
nobody wanted the books to get out there. Now, that's speculation. I don't really care. But like at the end of the day, the Korn Ferry Tour is a 20 something million tax break because they just spend the money on the Korn Ferry Tour.
mm.
Um,
So if they
so
spent more, it'd just be more write-off
it'd
essentially.
just be more. I mean,
Right.
the simple fact of the matter is you look at the player impact program, the $400 million that got spent there. Some of the players that took the player impact program money from the first like 2 or 3 years are gone.
hmm
They're on the live tour. So clearly it didn't work, right? So like,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah. So like, imagine that you took 10 of that or 20 of that, right? A small percentage of that money and kicked it down to the Korn Ferry Tour to secure TV and solid golf courses. And then all of a sudden, you can grow the players' brands. People know who they are, and more people watch, which means you make more money.
hmm
Not a hard equation, right? But the way they look at it is like, well, it's only meant to get you ready to go to the PGA Tour.
hmm
So they don't. One of the most famous quotes from a former president or chairman or whatever they're called, commissioner, I guess, of the Korn Ferry Tour is at the time, I think it was called the Nationwide or Web.com. He said, and I quote, "We do not want players making a living out here." Now, here's the problem with that.
A lot of problems.
Baldwin and I think one or two of her employees make millions a year, and every dime they spend to go to any golf tournament they want, stay at the most expensive hotels, which they do, go to the most expensive restaurants, which they do, is all paid for. Every dollar. So they don't have any expenses. Meanwhile, 90% of those on the Korn Ferry Tour make less than $300,000 a year and spend at least 100 to 150 a year.
Yeah, that the whenever I see those breakdowns, I mean, how much
Oh,
you
it's
spending on an average week would you say on a Corn Ferry event?
5 to 10.
5 to 10, and the
Mhm.
majority of that caddy and lodging, I
hmm
imagine,
Yep,
and or I
caddy,
guess travel.
rental
Yeah.
car. Yeah,
hmm
flights usually aren't that bad, but rental car, hotel for sure.
hmm
You're talking about 6 to 8 nights, which totals generally right around $1,000. So we try to get host housing as much as possible. So let's say you get host housing, so you cut
hmm
that down by 1,000. Let's say you're at 2,000 for a caddy, so we'll put it, and we'll say it's 500 to 800 for a rental car. Um, 3 to 500, we'll call it. So yeah, I mean, you're right around 5 grand already. I mean,
hmm
so fact of the matter is that if you're staying in a Motel 6, eating fast food all the time, you're not going to play well.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's all there's to it. So
Yeah.
like, and with inflation and all these other things, yeah, I mean, we can go into that in depth, but
So,
like, it's crazy.
so you kind of painted the picture of what the Corn Ferry is like, but you said you qualified for some Mondays, and obviously you
Mhm.
played on the PGA Tour. So what's that like?
The
You getting
exact
free
opposite.
food? Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
tell us a little bit about
stupid. It's stupid.
that.
Um, yeah, I mean, Torrey Pines, I mean, so obviously growing up in Hawaii, the Sony was always a great thing to do. And then right next to that, in my opinion, is the Farmers. Or it's no, I guess it's no longer called the Farmers. I don't know what it's going
That's,
to be
I think
called,
about it
but
like the farmers. I love Tory, so I get
it's the
it.
Farmers. It's Torrey Pines. I mean,
Yeah.
it's my favorite place on planet Earth to play
Yeah.
golf. Period. South Course is just amazing.
I just finished the
Um,
3 day San Diego City out there, and we had two of them at South Course. And even
oh,
though I got my teeth kicked in, I was like, God, I
oh,
love this place.
it's
It's so
fantastic.
fun.
You look at like, and then you like look at a map. You think of the map in your head. You're like, this is literally the edge of the entire continent. Like if you look east, like that's a long way, right? So it's like you're thinking about where you're at in this tiny little, this tiny property, and it's one of the greatest golf courses on planet Earth, right? Like bar none, right? Like I mean,
I
we're
love it.
talking
I get
it's
it.
top 10 for sure.
Yep.
Especially for me because the way I play the game. But anyways,
So that was your second event that you qualified for at
yeah. So that was the
Tory?
second one. Yeah. So
Man,
so
that's so cool.
it's insane. So the food in Hawaii is unreal. All of the members chip in, and it's the best food. There it is. You can order whatever you want. Um, and then in Tori, it's like fine dining.
Mm,
Like it's literally like if you could imagine what it would look like if you were uber rich and you had a dining hall with every drink you could desire, three or four different types of protein, vegan, vegetarian, um, you know, decaf, whatever, right? Like different types of coffee, the best water. Like we're not drinking Dasani, right? We're drinking
mm.
smart. It's smart water, and I mean, gosh knows how expensive that stuff is. But anyways, it's literally the best. I mean, but here's what's crazy. When you get on the PGA Tour, this is what people don't understand, is that your expenses, if you do it right, you don't pay for a car. So again, that's 300 to 500
Hmm.
a week gone,
Oh, at least, yeah.
right? So, and then if you do it right, you stay at a host, that's in some cases that's $3,000 to $5,000 gone. Now you go play down in Mexico, whatever, it definitely gets expensive, but breakfast, lunch, best breakfast lunch you'll ever have. It's not powdered eggs, right? Everything's fresh. Um, and then you're playing the best golf courses at the best time.
Hmm.
So like this is what's so sad, right? This is what like breaks every golf fan's heart like when they hear this is the greatest golf courses at the greatest time to be playing this game that we all love, and yet all we're focused on is the money.
Hmm.
Like that's all we hear now,
Yep.
right? And 10 years ago, not even, probably pre-COVID, it was more about the charity and about the stories and all this other stuff than it was about the money.
Hmm.
I mean, every 5 seconds you see a FedEx Cup money breakdown, right? And you're just like, who cares about the points,
Hmm.
right? Like, I want to see whether or not this guy's going to make this putt to save his entire season,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, I mean, it's 10 times better, and in some cases, it's infinitely better than the
Hmm.
Korn Ferry Tour. So, um, and it is sad. Do I think that the Monday qualifying thing is really going to be a huge detriment? No. Do I think it definitely was a detriment to the relationship between the PGA of America and PGA Tour? Absolutely, without a doubt.
Hmm.
You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that is made off these um, qualifiers for these sections, right? And that was kind of part of the deal back in the day. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen. Some of it looks pretty grim, but either way, uh, I haven't been pulled out of golf just yet, so
Hmm.
I'd certainly like to be. Although if it were up to me, I don't care where the paycheck comes from, just as long as it comes. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's when you paint a picture there about all the expenses, people just do not even ever comprehend
Mm-mm.
that. And then you can just not make the cut, and now you're literally in the hole even more, right? It's
Oh,
just
in
like
some cases, you're
such
out
a,
10 grand.
I know, it's just like this doesn't exist in any other sports. You always have a minimum paycheck.
Correct.
It's just wild. So how do you deal with like the money side of things, the pressure when you're in these tournaments? Do you just block it out? Like, is it mental work? Is it routines? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, I think on the PGA Tour, obviously, it was pretty easy. And I believe wholeheartedly that that if I'd have been living a balanced life and certainly the way I am now, that we would have kept our card.
What year were you on the PGA Tour?
23. So I
Okay.
played fall of 22. So I was like the last cards that got like more than 20 starts.
Hmm.
Like I think I got 30 and I earned a fair bit of that. I played in the US Open, like I said, I played in the Wells. I was one or two shots away from playing the Players. Like there was many opportunities that I had that most of these guys now don't get.
Hmm.
And I'm thankful, eternally grateful for that. But Korn Ferry Tour last year, due to, how do I put it? Due to some accounting errors, from the PGA Tour. Um, and I encourage Monday Q has a article about this on their site if it's still there. I think it's called like the dark side of the PGA Tour or something like that. Or anyways, it's about the $500,000 draw. It was written late last year. Anyways, long story short, and I was just having a kid, so I found out I was going to have a kid in late 2023, and literally halfway through the season, I'm like 20 grand in debt. Like I started my year with like 50 or 60 grand in the bank, no debt. Like I was
Hmm.
prepared for everything, and then due to an accounting error, the PGA Tour took half my paycheck for the year. Um, and this is kind of that, you remember that balance sheet that I mentioned? So this
Hmm.
is how they look at it. They said, well, we made an error that left us out 50 G's, so we're going to take that 50 G's from you to balance the books. Even though, again, they don't pay taxes, there's nothing about that 50 G's that they need, right? But it's just how they look at it. Somebody owes us, we get the money, period, end of story. Um, Now, I'm going to own every shot that I hit, and I'm going to own every thought that I have. But it was definitely difficult last year knowing, and I made more cuts than I made on the Korn Ferry Tour last year than I made in any other of the three previous seasons.
Hmm.
I made it to almost a lot of the weekends. But every single Saturday, aside from one, I think, I played terrible
Hmm.
because it was like, oh, I made the cut. Now it's time to make some money, right?
Mm.
So that's kind of where my mind went. It's like, I need to make some money to get back out of
Just playing
debt.
super aggressive then, and
Yeah, well, just not playing balanced, period. And just my
hmm.
heart was not balanced, my mind was not balanced because I'm looking at all this, just had a kid. I'm like, I got to provide, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I'm doing everything on my own. Like, I was fortunate enough to get some cash from Strixon. Obviously, I've been a staff member for a long time, and they've taken great care of me. So got a little bit of cash there, but pretty much I was doing everything else on my own. And as we've already
Hmm.
illustrated, 3 to 5 to 6 to 7 grand a week gets pretty difficult, especially when you're spending, what is it, 15 to 20 grand on a kid. To have a kid is like 15, 20 G's now,
Hmm.
which is just stupid. But that's whatever. So greatest thing I'll ever do. And I thank God for my son, and my wife, but it was not cheap. So anyways, so I'm carrying all this, and I had just turned to Christ, so like I had no idea how to like get this out. And so um, I had a terrible weekend almost every single week.
Hmm.
And I made 100 grand. They took 50 from me, and I'm out. As we've already said, it costs 100 grand to play, so I'm out 50 right there.
Mm.
And then you look at, obviously, home expenses are not cheap either, so you're out another 50, 60, or 70 depending on what's going on. So like right now I'm still like kind of reaping that time, and I'm still like I'm kind of looking around going, what the heck am I supposed to do with this?
Hmm.
And so to your question, it's like there is absolutely no way I could play golf at all thinking, oh my gosh, I got all this stuff to do, I got all this money to make, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
And so now I literally give it to God and surrender and just be like, there's nothing I can do about it.
So you just go
So
out, and if you find yourself getting into money in future, you just kind of
pull
pull back.
myself out.
Hmm.
Yep, turn to Christ. Yeah. So
What kind of tips would you give for amateur golfers that aren't playing or for their livelihood, but they a lot of prideful golfers out there. Nobody wants to
yeah.
shoot an 86 as a scratch golfer. So what would you say to those tournament golfers that have club championships? They're maybe doing some amateur stuff. How do they stay present?
Um, Nobody cares about what you're doing. So thinking about what somebody else is thinking,
Hmm.
about a shot, about a this, about a that, is a quick way to be overly emotional and make a dumb decision and make a double bogey at the worst time.
Mm.
Um, a lot of times I'll see, these guys over the years that are, one, two, three, scratch handicapper, right, at their home club. They go play a qualifier or something like that, or a mid-am or whatever, and they'll shoot
Hmm.
90. And the reason why that happens is because they think that the game is somehow different. Now, when you're playing your local 6,700-yard golf course every single day and you shoot well out there, yes, that's 100% good on you. That's great. You are not ready for tournaments.
Hmm.
Like, you're just not. Now, you might be ready for your home championship. That's fine. Or maybe even a home and away or something like that. But when you go play against guys like yourself, right, that are, one or two shots away from, well, I mean, I assume you're like a plus three, plus four, plus five, somewhere in there, right? So, I mean, you're one or two shots away from being like literally top 600 in the world, right? I mean, there just aren't many people in the world that can shoot, several under par. So, for anybody in any handicap, the best thing to do is to find a process that works both mentally and physically. It gets you in the zone, and then completely get rid of your thoughts of what about this guy, or what about this, or what
Hmm.
if I hit this shot? What are they going to think? Nobody cares.
Hmm.
Right now, younger people obviously need that advice much more
Yeah.
than us
I
elders,
know
but
50, 60-year-olds that need that advice still. I think
well, there you go.
because I talk to guys of all ages, listen to the show, read the books, and it's shocking to me. I met a guy that's almost 60, and he's like, I've never played in a tournament. I'm so worried about what people think if I do bad. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
man,
fair.
it is, but like you said, nobody
It's
cares. Like
ridiculous. Yeah, it's
it's but
totally
it's
illogical.
just we just blow
Yeah,
this up and make it.
yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm sure you've done a lot of pro-ams too over the
Oh
years.
yeah, tons.
What are some common amateur mistakes you see? I'm sure they're nervous and giddy to be out there with you guys and on a tough course, but maybe a couple of amateur mistakes that others can try and avoid.
Um, don't take it personal would be the best advice, because
Are you
I
talking
know
about like
guys.
I hit a bad shot, I'm a bad person kind of thing? Like is that what?
Well, that, and but also like um when you're in a situation where the high emotions are heightened. It's like when you're driving,
Mhm.
right? Like you're driving around, everybody's on 10, right? Like right on the edge of the seat, just death gripping the wheel because, God forbid somebody cuts them off going 95, right? Um, or somebody's not going fast enough. But anyways, so it's just like, yeah, don't take it personal. It's not who you are.
Mm.
Like if you want to look at how to be on the golf course, there are a few players that go out, play, but are fa great fathers and great husbands off the course because they don't bring golf back home.
Hmm.
They don't bring their work back home, and I've struggled with that. My family in the past have been like, dude, like, are you okay?
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, I've had a few bad tournaments and whatever, but you know, and so it's never okay, but also at the same time, like it's totally understandable.
Hmm.
But the advice is like your golf shot does not define who you are, nor does it define your day. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten came from a man who's never picked up a golf club, but did serve two tours in Vietnam. Only time my grandfather has ever driven with me on the golf course. He's driven with me one time. He's watched me, but never has he ridden with me on the golf course. And I say, I was having a bad day. He goes, and I'm sure this is going to ring true for many people. He looks me dead square in the face and goes, the day ain't over yet. And I go, okay, I get it. I understand. Like, so it's not who you are. It doesn't
Hmm.
define the day. It doesn't even define the week. Like, people that play for a living, if they define their week based off of one round or whatever and are incapable of looking at the positives, they're going to be lost and they're going to hate the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
They're going to hate the game. And
Hmm.
so, that's the best advice I think I've gotten. And probably the only way I could think of sharing it, really, is just don't take it personal.
I like
Because
that.
golf doesn't care about you anyways.
I know. It just chew you up and spit you out. It
Absolutely.
does not. Anytime you think you're playing good too, be careful.
Yep.
Something's close.
If you're comfortable, if
Yeah.
you're comfortable, be very afraid.
Yeah. Talk us through some of your routines. What is like activation? Like, how do you get ready for the day? What are you eating? How are you like preparing? I saw some Facebook videos of you doing
Yeah.
some different workouts and stuff. I think that's always a fascinating side of things that us everyday golfers would love to kind of learn more about, just because I feel like most players have zero pre-round warm up, and I think that's a
Yeah.
huge mistake.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, I caddied for this kid last week and he's 19, so I totally um totally understood, not having that. He had a little bit of a routine, but like it was pretty undisciplined anyways. But
Hmm.
but the way I grew up, military kid, so discipline was something that was kind of taught to me as a life or death thing. Because these are the type of men that I grew up around.
Hmm.
If they weren't disciplined, they would die. Like it's just that simple. And so um, I had to figure it out along the way, and thankfully, the patience of my dad and my mom were is great, and so they allowed me that time. But when I did finally establish it, I remember I was on the putting green and I had just watched a David Pell's short game thing because he was doing that stuff with Cleveland Golf, and so I love those. But he had talked about a routine, and I was kind of like, maybe there's something to this, right? And so I was like, what is my routine? How long does it take? And he's like, well,
Hmm.
measure how long it takes and do it every single time. So I developed a pretty uh, good routine right away, at least like the physical process of what I was
Hmm.
trying to accomplish. And then over the years, it bled back into trying to, really having a solid fundamental off the course routine before the round and even some cases after the round. But I literally, if I have a 7:30 tee time, I'm up at 4.
Okay. Yep. That's what I was gonna say. Is it always a
Yeah,
set number of
a
hours that you?
hundred percent. Yeah,
Perfect.
my minutes are pretty much. It's
Love
taken me
it.
a long time to get there. It's not
Hmm.
something that is easily done,
Hmm.
unless you're just that type of person. And God bless you if you are, because that's incredible. Took me a decade,
Hmm.
but
So you
so
got a
every minute of
7:30.
mine
You said you're up at 4.
up at 4.
Okay.
We are. Let's say we're staying 15 minutes from, we got a hotel gym. If we're blessed to have a hotel gym, or on the PGA Tour, obviously we get pretty good facilities there. So, generally, I'm out of the room or whatever, and on my way to the golf course with about somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours before, and there's an hour 45 to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how much time I have. In some cases, an hour and a half if I have the time in the gym. And most of that time is spent doing foam rolling, body work, stuff like that to kind of open my body up.
You said over
Um,
an hour in the gym?
oh yeah, and then
Nice.
but most of that time is
It's an
again spent.
activation. It's not like you're doing heavy bench press or squats,
No,
right?
gosh, no,
Yeah.
no, no,
Okay.
no. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely never gonna find me under a bar. But and now I just literally I'll lift for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll do a couple of things to kind of, get the pump going and feel good about myself, and then get out of there.
Hmm.
And then I'm eating breakfast or whatever, with probably an hour and 30, hour 40 left somewhere in there. Should
Okay.
leave me at about the 2.5, 3 hour mark. If it all adds up together, and I'm on the putting green rather, with probably an hour and 10 to an hour 15 left before the tee time.
What's that look like?
Um, yeah, so that's starting from short range. I work around the clock. Um, and then I just kind of expand the circle,
Okay.
and putt from probably 15 feet at 4 different spots with four square drill or a four corner drill, something that I was taught years ago, probably pretty close to 15, 18 years now. So I've always done that. Um, and then I'll do some ups, some downs, some bigs, some big breakers to kind of
Hmm.
see some things, and then I'll go pitch. Obviously, start short again and work my way back. Always finish with bunker because you kind of get some really good movement and good tempo there. And then I'll start with some just mid-range wedge shots, 30, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. Probably hit 10, 15 balls there to kind of establish good tempo. And then I'll go into whatever I'm working on. In this case, it's a certain movement that I'm trying to execute. And So we do a few drills with like let's say a gap wedge.
Hmm.
And then I go into after I've executed those drills, then I go into shot shaping with that gap wedge, and then I do the same thing with a 9 iron, um, a few less drills this time, and then go into shot shaping again, and then a 7 iron, a couple more drills just to kind of get because it's a little bit longer club, and then even more shot shaping, and then and then I start to think, okay, so where are some of the places that I'm going to need 5 6 or 6 5 4 3 2.
Hmm.
Okay, well, so I know I'm going to have this par three. I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do that. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a shot that I know I have to hit with a 6 5 4 3 iron. It's going to be this big high draw or this big cut or lower cut or something like that. So I'll grab probably a 5 iron or a 4 iron and start doing that.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I find a lot of my shot shaping is towards the end of the bag. And then I rip the cover off it with probably 3 or 4 2 irons. Rip the cover off it with a good solid couple of 3 woods, and then I'll hit probably 6 to 8 drivers, starting kind of like nice and slow and smooth,
Hmm.
slow, not ripped, and then I'll hit a couple of really hard ones, and then I'll finish with my normal like little low two seamer that goes left to right. Um, and then I'll probably finish with, if I've got some time, I'll probably finish with again those short wedges to kind of calm down a little bit. And then I'll go putt with probably 15 minutes before my tee time. And I'll get to the tee with 5 minutes left.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's a good solid. I mean, between the warm up and the gym time and then the warm up, you're obviously doing a lot. I hope golfers can shorten that down, but I mean, just get the point that like,
Yeah.
hey, get the
Find what
body
works for
ready.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find what
No,
works
I
for
mean,
you.
this is great. Obviously, this is your livelihood, but I hope golfers could find, I mean, you can still do that in 30 minutes and still, 10,
100%.
15 minutes there, 10, 15.
Yep.
It just is huge. Yeah, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I just wanted to ask when you're out there, I know the course, you have your great warm up and stuff. Do you go out and say, hey, I'm going to try and attack these holes? Or do you have a 3 hole mentality? That's what Charlie was kind of talking about when he was on the show. Do you have any sort of like kind of strategy for, I know I'm sure you kind of mapped out the course
Yeah.
itself, but what is the kind of mindset or strategic way to process all 18 holes?
Yeah. So prior to the round, likely at some point, probably the day prior, whether it's on the phone or, if let's say if we've got an afternoon tea time, we've got all the time in the world, my caddy and I will sit down
Mm,
and talk about each shot. So tee shot, first hole, second shot, so on and so forth, all the way to the final putt on 18.
hmm.
And walk through where we want the ball to be based on the wind, based on what we know about the golf course, and then obviously where the pin locations are. So, but I don't look at the round once I'm there, once I'm out there. I just fall into each shot, fall into each process, and let the rest go.
Hmm. So you're not out there saying, I got to birdie this hole, or I got to make this many birdies. You a
If I'm
leaderboard?
there, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in the past, I've certainly watched my fair share of leaderboards. I
You
mean, when
found
I
it helpful
won,
or no?
in a way, when I won, I was fortunate because there weren't any leaderboards after number 14,
Hmm.
so I didn't
Interesting.
see any.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't even know what the guys were the guys were behind me until I finished and I was in the scoring tent and I knew that I'm
Mm.
probably gonna have to go to a playoff. So
Okay.
um, yeah, it was other than that, yeah, I mean even the most notable time when I was odd was when I made it to the tour. I watched the leaderboard walking up to 18th after I hit it to 40 feet at Victoria National, and my coach is walking alongside me in the ropes or outside the ropes rather, and he goes, "I think you got to make this." I go, "Yeah, I think you're right." And and obviously, ended up making it, and feel free to go watch that video. It's
I saw
hilarious.
it yesterday. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, what a sweet way to
It was
finish a
funny. Yeah, it was
round.
pretty cool. Chris Stroud, what a guy. I mean, for him to be there, I mean, tour winner, phenomenal guy. Walked, was with me every step of the way. He was playing hard, and he was there. He put his finger up as the ball went and curled in the hole, and
Hmm.
says, such a great experience. And but yeah, that was probably one of the times when watching the leaderboard actually gave me a little bit of gusto. But most of the time, it's just kind of too many. It's just adds too many thoughts.
Hmm.
So.
Love it. Awesome, man. Do you do any online lessons or coaching or anything in
I
Arizona?
certainly can. I
Yeah.
certainly can. I mean,
Awesome. I was going to say,
obviously,
what's the best place people can follow you before the last question?
yeah. I think it's Brent_Grant Golf or something like that.
We'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, somewhere on Instagram. But feel free. Yeah, golf courses are tough. Obviously, I think because of who we know at grass clippings, I don't think anybody would have a problem with me teaching out there. But yeah, I am totally available for any and all golf videos that somebody, or even just mental coaching and
Cool.
stuff like that. So yeah, I'm totally
Perfect.
available.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll make sure to link to that. And for my last question, you've been a pro, what, 10 years now?
About 10 years, yeah.
About 10 years. What's the number one mental tip that you've learned over your journey that can help amateurs?
Hmm. A plan is a point of departure. If you have no plan and things go wrong, you will fail.
Love that. Plan to fail, failed plan, right?
Yep.
It's fantastic. Well, Brent, thanks so much for sharing so much about your journey. We're wishing you on. I know you got Q School coming up, so we'll be refreshing that leaderboard here in a few months. And yeah, man, I'm very optimistic. I feel like the future looks bright for you. And thanks again for being on Wicked Smart Golf.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.